New details are emerging tonight about the death of megachurch pastor Zachary Timms.
Local pastor, he headed up a Central Florida megachurch. Police sources in New York City telling Fox 35 Zachary Timms has been found dead.
When I was a sinner, I had passion for cocaine. When I was a sinner, I had passion for...
The news of the sudden death of megapastor Zachary Timms shocked the Christian community. He was a man driven by unlimited energy and great vision to win souls to Jesus. And in just a few short years, Pastor Zachary and co-pastor Reva Timms, his wife of 15 years, grew their church of 5 to an astonishing 8,000-member congregation. But the pressure of their meteoric rise would eventually take its toll on their marriage, on their ministry, and on the life of Pastor Zachary Timms. Reva Timms has spoken very little about the events that led up to the death of her ex-husband until now.
I love that he had a boldness about him. He wasn't afraid. He was always talking about thinking big, doing things grand, and that really pulled me in.
So I found my queen, and today, I love you, and I want you to marry me.
Zachary and Reva were 22 when they first met at church. With a shared passion to win souls to Jesus, they married, and shortly thereafter ventured out to start a ministry in Orlando, Florida.
So we labeled ourselves as an outreach ministry. So our whole goal was to pull people in from the streets, not to pull them from other churches, but really to get those that were unsaved. And I think the people felt our love, they felt our sincerity, and we were young. We had a lot of zeal for the Lord, a lot of excitement. If God said go on TV, we had the faith to do it. If God said go into the community, we just had the faith to do it.
But as church membership grew at an astonishing rate, so did their status in the church world.
It becomes an empire. It becomes your own name that's highlighted, and it becomes about you when it's not. That's never how it's supposed to be. People tend to pull that out of you, and if you're not careful, they'll begin to worship you more than they worship God. In the beginning, it did not affect us. He used to put on the back wall humility, a huge sign. So every time he preached, he would see that. But then when we moved to our last building and TV, you know, we're on national television, people are calling all the time, it started to infiltrate the church.
And began to interfere in their marriage.
There was somewhat of a distance that began to take place. I could still connect, but I knew that there was something different. When he began to travel a lot and wouldn't allow me to go, then I knew something was wrong. And then, of course, I found out that there was, you know, infidelity.
A cheating scandal surfaced involving Pastor Timms weekend in a New York City hotel.
Was there a level of remorse, the different choices that he made? Was there remorse there?
In the beginning, no. In the beginning, he was remorseful he got caught. And that's the part that hurt. There was no running after me, coming after me. He was trying to keep everything together. My heart hurt, not just in a spiritual way, not just in an emotional way, but a physical way. And I didn't realize that people hurt that badly. But the Lord told me, hold your peace. That was the hardest thing you could ever do. I loved my husband. The church belonged to God. I wanted my husband and I wanted my family. And if that meant that we had to sit down or step away from the pulpit for a season, I was willing to do that.
But Zachary was reluctant to step down from ministry to pursue counseling, but he did.
If I could have just had my husband sit down for a year. Now that's unheard of. Pastors are like, no, your church is going to die. No, if it belongs to God, come on. Someone else could come in. They could run the ministry and the family could get healed. But that's not how it happened. And people, well-meaning people, members, well-meaning, who love their pastor. Pastor, it's okay, we don't care what you did. Pastor, just come back. We're going to support you. They became enablers as well, but not realizing it.
After only 3 months of counseling, he chose to resume ministry. Reva felt her husband's return was premature. Their family was still hurt and broken. But she was even more devastated by the reaction of the leaders within their church.
Actually, I was just kind of like, you know, booted out, you know, so to speak, and, you know, asked not to come back. It was like, you know, if they see you, they won't heal. I was told, so just stay away.
Believing things couldn't get any worse, Zachary dropped another bomb.
And he says, I have something else to tell you. And he begins to share with me more about the affairs and...
Affairs, plural.
Yeah.
When she tried to seek help from some other high-profile pastors,
they didn't want to hear it, or if they did hear it, they would say, "What that? Get over it. It happened to me. You got to think about the church. You got to think about the ministry." And my mindset was, it first starts at home. You know, your relationship with God starts at home first before you can go out and minister. So that just kept bewildering me because I couldn't understand that.
by now Reva felt abandoned by her husband, the church, and at times, God.
And I would try to rehearse in my mind, what did I do wrong that I would go through this? Because in all actuality, everything looked like he was being blessed and I was being rejected. And I kept saying, why are they rejecting me? Why are they blaming me?
But it was in that place of brokenness where Reva experienced the true loving heart of God like never before.
And I just began to see God in a whole new light. I realized he never left me. He was holding me. He was guiding me. He was instructing me. Although I couldn't hear him clearly, his love never stopped.
And that love would eventually transfer to her now estranged husband.
Many occasions I thought I forgave. It wasn't until I was just sitting in the room and I would say, I hate him. I hate him. And I would just scream it out. And I was like, where did that come from? I thought I forgave him. But it was still rooted deeply. And it was bitterness. It was resentfulness because I felt you ruined my life. I felt you took everything away because of what you did. It wasn't until I began to pray for him. For real. And when I began to pray for him, I began to get compassion. I began to see the root of his struggles. I began to feel sorry for him. I began to feel love for him. Then, and only then, forgiveness came.
Wow. As Reva spent time in prayer for Zachary, the Lord revealed the areas of brokenness in her own life.
I began to take a look inside, and I didn't like what I found.
What did the Lord show you?
A lot.
Like
Self-righteousness, lust in my own self, just wanting to be accepted by men and not God. So he began to shine the light on the filthiness in me. Again, I was going through something. God was purging things out of me when I thought he should have just been dealing with my husband.
Right?
But he said, no, there are things in you that also has to be rectified and changed and done better. And thank God I listened.
Right?
Thank God.
Reva and Zachary's marriage eventually ended in divorce. Zachary continued in ministry while Reva quietly focused her attention on raising their 4 children. A week before Zachary was found dead in a New York hotel room, the couple had a chance to reconcile on a family trip to Puerto Rico. This picture was the last time they saw him alive.
He came to me and he said, I'm sorry. And then he ended up telling his church at a marriage seminar that I believe my wife would have still been with me and our family would have been okay if I had listened to better counsel and ran after and fought for my family instead of running and fighting for the church.
Today, Pastor Reva heads up a new ministry called Majestic Life Church.
I was given a call and I had to complete that. I teach no celebrity pastors, it's all about God.
She's also written a book called When It All Falls Apart, a candid portrait of how God heals those facing heartbreak and betrayal.
His blood can cover anything, no matter how dirty, no matter how nasty, no matter how horrible, it will cover. But you have to make a decision that you're going to repent and not continue as a lifestyle. God's grace covers. But when you go through a situation, when you find yourself in a trial or tribulation, understand that God's love and his mercy is amazing.